Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the life you've been living isn't truly your own. It's as though a fog lifts, revealing the truth. Every decision you've made, every belief you hold, and even the desires that drive you may not have come from the deepest part of who you are. Instead, they have been shaped by the expectations, conditioning, and unseen forces of the world around you. Is this the life you were meant to live? This realization often feels unsettling, like the weight of 1,000 regrets pressing down on your chest. You look in the mirror, but instead of seeing your true self, you see someone who has traded time for approval, potential for survival, and years for fleeting moments that now seem meaningless. The life you've been leading feels like a performance, an act you've been playing in order to meet the expectations of others. And yet, the scariest part is that you continue to play the role, even though you know it's not your own. Why? Because it's easier. It's easier to scroll mindlessly through social media, to show up to work, to laugh at jokes you don't even find funny, to survive another day in a life that doesn't resonate with you. You silence the quiet panic rising inside, the whisper that says, "This isn't the life you were meant to live." But it's easier to ignore that voice, after all. It's safer to fit in, to blend into the background of society's expectations, than it is to stand up and question everything about the life you're living. Nietzsche once said, "Your second life begins the moment you realize you have only one." This statement holds a profound truth. Most people never realize it. They live as if they are immortal, as if mistakes can be erased, as if dreams can be postponed indefinitely. They act as if apologies can fix the decades spent absent from their own lives. You weren't taught how to truly live. You were taught to obey, to follow paths that were paved long before your arrival. You were taught to sacrifice your deepest desires for the sake of stability, to place your dreams at the altar of survival. You were taught that simply existing is the same as living. But then something happens. Something cracks the illusion. Maybe it's the loss of someone you thought would be there forever. Maybe it's a betrayal so deep that it cuts the very essence of your identity loose. Or maybe it's simply waking up one morning and realizing you no longer recognize the person you've become. Whatever the catalyst, it shatters the spell. And for the first time, you see the truth. You don't have forever. You have right now. You have whatever breath is filling your lungs at this very moment. You have this fragile, brutal, and beautiful opportunity to exist fully before everything you love, everything you are, disappears. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. You stop fearing failure. You start fearing the wasting of what's left. You stop asking for permission to be yourself. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop living for applause that won't matter once you're gone. You realize that no one is coming to save you. No perfect moment will arrive. No final warning will be given. This is it. Your life is happening right now. Take a moment and reflect. If today were the only day you had left, would you be content with the life you're living right now? Or would you feel a deep, gnawing regret for all the things you never tried, the dreams you never chased, the life you never lived? The terrifying beauty of life is that it demands your full presence without offering any guarantees. No guarantee of success, no guarantee of love, no guarantee of a second chance, only the guarantee of an ending. And yet, most people spend more time decorating their graves than building their lives. Your second life doesn't begin when you buy a new car, change jobs, or move to a new city. It begins the moment you realize you have only one life. And that realization burns so deeply into your bones that you can never go back to sleep. You can never live passively again. You start to live with urgency, with passion, with purpose. You begin to say no to everything that shrinks you. You begin to say yes to everything that ignites you. You start loving with both hands. You forgive without bitterness. You dream without asking for permission. You stop waiting for a sign. You realize you are the sign. The moment you wake up is the miracle you've been waiting for. Interactive moment. Now ask yourself, what are you still waiting for? Are you waiting for permission to start living authentically? Or will you choose to live fully today? Most people live their lives according to a script written by society, by their upbringing, by the invisible forces around them. From the moment you were born, you were given a name, an identity, a role to play. You were taught to obey, to fit in, and to sacrifice your authentic desires for the sake of survival. The world conditioned you to believe that existing was the same as living. But what if there's more to life than this? What if the path you're walking is not yours at all? What if you've been playing a part in a story that was never meant to be yours? The problem is that we don't even realize we're following someone else's script. We're so caught up in the demands of society, success, approval, fitting in, that we don't stop to ask ourselves, is this really who I am? Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, believed that the key to true psychological growth and fulfillment lies in discovering and embracing your authentic self. Jung's concept of individuation is the process of integrating all aspects of the self, both light and dark, to become a whole, complete individual. But before you can begin this journey of self-discovery, you first need to confront the fact that most people never embark on it. They remain trapped within the version of themselves that society has shaped. They live for external validation, constantly chasing approval and success, yet never feeling truly fulfilled. This is where the problem lies. Society has conditioned us to seek external validation, to measure our worth through achievements, status, and others' opinions. We have been taught that happiness is something to be earned through recognition, accomplishments, or fitting in. But deep inside, you feel something is missing. You sense that there's more to life than the cycle of work, approval, and survival. Jung's insight was profound. The key to true life begins when we stop running from ourselves. The road to individuation is not easy. It requires us to face the parts of ourselves that we have hidden or denied, the parts of us that society tells us are not acceptable or not enough. And that's where the journey begins, when we are willing to look at the parts of ourselves we've spent a lifetime suppressing and finally embrace them. But this isn't easy. It's uncomfortable to confront these parts of ourselves, the parts we've hidden away for years, because they didn't fit into the neat, acceptable version of who we were supposed to be. How many times have you suppressed your true desires, your real feelings, in favor of fitting in or pleasing others? How many times have you quieted your own voice just to avoid conflict or to make others feel comfortable? This suppression is the beginning of the mask we all wear, what Jung called the persona. The persona is the mask we wear in society. It's the version of ourselves that we present to the world in order to gain acceptance and approval. But the more we identify with the persona, the more we lose touch with our true selves. We begin to believe that we are the mask we've created, forgetting that beneath it, there's a deeper, more authentic version of who we really are. And then there's the shadow. The shadow is the opposite of the persona. It's everything we hide, reject, or suppress within ourselves. It's the fears, desires, weaknesses, and hidden strengths that we don't want to acknowledge. The shadow doesn't disappear because we ignore it. Instead, it operates in the background, influencing our behavior, our reactions, and our interactions with the world around us. The shadow doesn't just disappear. It manifests itself in unconscious ways, often through projection. Have you ever disliked someone intensely for no apparent reason? Or been triggered by someone's behavior that seems to provoke a strong emotional reaction from you? According to Jung, When we are disturbed by qualities in others, it is often because those qualities exist within us, hidden in our own shadow. But what if I told you that within your shadow lies the key to true self-discovery? What if the parts of yourself you've rejected, the parts you've suppressed, are not your enemies, but rather the missing pieces of your wholeness? Jung believed that psychological growth doesn't mean eliminating the shadow. It means integrating it, accepting all parts of who we are, both the light and the dark. To truly begin your journey toward individuation, you must confront the parts of yourself that you've long ignored or rejected. It's one thing to acknowledge that you've been wearing a mask your whole life, but it's an entirely different thing to pull that mask off and face the face underneath it. This is where most people falter. They resist the call to confront the darker, hidden parts of themselves. It's much easier to keep the mask in place, to stay in the comfort zone of the persona you've created, than to go through the difficult process of integrating your shadow. But here's the thing. Without integrating your shadow, you can never be truly free. The parts of yourself that you've rejected or buried in your unconscious don't just disappear. They live on, influencing your decisions, your relationships, and your behavior in ways you can't see. In fact, they often manifest themselves in ways that you might not even recognize. Have you ever felt inexplicably irritated by someone else's behavior, only to realize that the behavior you're reacting to is actually a reflection of something you've repressed in yourself? This is the power of the shadow. It's not just about the negative aspects of ourselves, but the parts of us that we've suppressed because they don't fit into the image we've constructed of who we're supposed to be. These parts are often the source of our greatest potential, but they can only be unlocked once we accept them and integrate them into our lives. Jung's concept of the shadow is not just about acknowledging these hidden parts, it's about learning to embrace them. He believed that when we truly accept all parts of ourselves, both the light and the dark, we begin to step into our full power. But here's the catch. This process isn't about perfection. It's not about eliminating your flaws. It's about accepting them as part of the whole. The more you resist the darker parts of yourself, the more power they hold over you. But the moment you bring them into the light, they lose their grip. It's a deeply uncomfortable process. Facing your shadow requires you to examine your deepest fears, desires, and vulnerabilities. It means looking at the parts of yourself that you've hidden away because they don't fit into the neat, socially acceptable image of who you think you should be. It requires vulnerability and courage to accept these parts of yourself, to forgive yourself for them, and to let go of the shame that's kept you in hiding. But once you do, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see the world through a new lens. Instead of being constantly at war with yourself, trying to fit into a mold that was never yours to begin with, you start to embrace who you truly are. You stop pretending to be someone you're not, and you begin to live authentically, in alignment with your deepest values and desires. You stop running from discomfort and start leaning into it with curiosity and openness. This is where true freedom begins, not in the absence of fear, but in the willingness to face it, to lean into it, and to learn from it. Freedom comes when you stop pretending that you don't have shadows and start integrating them into your light. It comes when you stop hiding from yourself and begin to live fully as who you really are, not as who others want you to be. But how do you begin this process of integration? It starts with self-awareness. The moment you become aware of your shadows, you start to shift the dynamic. You stop seeing them as enemies and start recognizing them as pieces of your whole self. This awareness is the key that unlocks the door to your true potential. Jung believed that the unconscious mind communicates with us through symbols, dreams, and emotions. These unconscious messages are often the first sign that there is something deeper beneath the surface. Your dreams, your intuition, and the feelings that arise in your body when you face difficult situations, they are all part of the conversation between your conscious mind and your unconscious self. Pay attention to them. They are the clues that will guide you to uncover the hidden aspects of yourself that you've repressed. Another powerful tool in this journey is creative expression. Jung often spoke of the importance of art, music, and writing in the process of individuation. These forms of self-expression allow you to connect with the unconscious mind in ways that are difficult to do through logic or reasoning alone. When you engage in creative activities, you tap into a deeper level of consciousness that reveals truths about yourself that you may not be able to access through ordinary thinking. Art and creativity become a way to bypass the ego and allow the unconscious to speak directly. But ultimately, the journey toward individuation is about awareness. Awareness of your own shadows, of the ways in which you've been conditioned to conform, and of the parts of yourself that you've rejected or hidden. Once you begin to see these parts, you can start the process of integrating them. And when you do, you will begin to experience the profound shift that comes with truly knowing and embracing who you are. Now that you've seen the light, it's time to step into it fully. The process of individuation isn't just about acknowledging your shadows or understanding the parts of yourself you've hidden. It's about living authentically, boldly, and unapologetically. It's about creating a life that's yours and only yours, shedding the layers of external conditioning and stepping into your true power. You might be wondering, what does it mean to live authentically? What does it mean to be truly yourself, not just in private, but in the public sphere? The first step is to stop living for others. It's time to stop seeking approval, to stop living according to the scripts that have been handed to you, whether by society, family, or fear. Instead, start living for your own approval. The second life that NZ talks about begins the moment you realize that you are the only one who gets to decide who you are, and the moment you stop waiting for permission to live your truth. The journey to authenticity demands courage. It demands that you confront not only the shadows within, but also the judgment of the world outside. It's easier to conform. It's easier to play small and live within the confines of what's expected of you. But it's also the most dangerous thing you can do, because it leads to a life half lived, a life where you're always playing catch up with a version of yourself that's been buried by others' expectations. The hardest part of this process is giving up the need for validation. When you no longer need others to validate your existence, you start to live with clarity and purpose. Your life becomes a reflection of your deepest desires, not a reaction to the opinions and desires of others. This isn't about being selfish or abandoning others, but about finding the courage to stand firm in who you are without compromise. Jung recognized this fundamental shift when he spoke about the journey toward individuation. It's not about achieving perfection or becoming someone else. It's about stripping away the layers of illusion and revealing the self that's always been there, waiting to be discovered. This journey isn't a destination. It's a continuous process of transformation. It's about learning, growing, and evolving into a version of yourself that is authentic, full, and unapologetically alive. One of the greatest misconceptions about individuation is that it's a solitary process. It's true that the journey requires introspection and sometimes solitude, but you don't have to go it alone. The people who resonate with your true self will appear along the way, and they'll support you in ways that go beyond superficial relationships. These are the people who see you for who you truly are, and they are just as essential to your journey as the parts of you that you are discovering. As you continue along this path, you will begin to attract the right energy into your life. It's a law of the universe. Like attracts like. When you align yourself with your authentic self, you'll find that the right people, the right opportunities, and the right circumstances start to unfold before you. It won't be easy, and it won't always feel comfortable, but it will always feel right. Ultimately, the process of individuation leads to liberation. It leads to freedom, not just freedom from external expectations, but freedom from the internal prison we've created by not living authentically. It's the freedom to be who we truly are, to pursue what we're truly passionate about, and to build a life that reflects the deepest parts of ourselves. And in that freedom, there is peace. True peace isn't found in external circumstances or in the approval of others. True peace is found in the quiet knowing that you are living as your truest self, aligned with your values and your purpose, walking your own path with courage, authenticity, and grace. As you move forward in this journey, remember, you have always had the power to change, to evolve, to live fully. The only thing standing in your way is the illusion of fear, the fear that you won't be accepted, the fear that you won't be loved. But the truth is, the only love that matters is the love you give to yourself. When you learn to love and accept yourself fully, the world will begin to reflect that love back to you. Now is the time to step into your second life, to step into the version of yourself that has always been waiting to emerge. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. You will make mistakes. You will stumble. But every misstep is part of the process of becoming who you are meant to be. You are not defined by your mistakes. You are defined by your ability to rise, to learn, to grow. And when you do rise, you will do so as the person you've always been, the person you've always known you could be. You will rise with power, with authenticity, and with the unshakable belief that your life is yours to create, the life you were meant to live.